Well, for more on the Trump versus Musk fallout, let's welcome in here Dan Ives, Wedbush Securities Managing Director and Global Head of Technology Research. Dan, it is always great to see you. So Trump and Musk, Dan, the bromance, the breakup, you look at Tesla stock, as Julie was just pointing out, it's moving higher today, but it got whacked yesterday, Dan. And I want to ask you, when you saw that reaction in the stock, what did you think, Dan? Did you think that move was justified? Did you think it was an overreaction? What were you telling clients?
I mean, look, Josh, I thought it was a shock, almost Rod Serling, Twilight Zone, sort of, that Musk and Trump went from BFFs to this frenemy situation, right? It's almost like a junior high sort of fight that's happened between these friends. And I think it caught investors off guard because you knew Musk was pulling away, but you didn't think that this was actually going to start really a battle where a friend could become an enemy. And that's a cascade effect because investors were worried, what does that mean if Trump becomes an enemy, not a supporter, in terms of the autonomous roadmap? I think that was an overreaction, but that's why investors were fearing it.
Well, and Dan, does it also remind investors of what looks, from some angles, maybe from many angles, like Musk's instability, right? We of course recently had that story in the New York Times that said his drug use during the campaign was, more extensive than had been understood before. Then you see this sort of lashing out against the president. I mean, do you think that there is really solid investor confidence in his leadership?
Yeah, and Julie, look, I mean, to me, Musk is not going to be someone that's drinking tea and doing a cartoon puzzle at night. So I think investors, they understand who Musk is, whether you love him or hate him. So I think they're able to kind of see through that in terms of some of these controversies. Now, in terms of here with Musk, look, at the end of the day, no one wants Trump as an enemy to Musk. You want him as a friend. And that's why I think behind the scenes right now, there's a calm, right? I think maybe, hopefully cooler heads prevail, intermediaries, because at the end of the day, Musk needs Trump, Trump needs Musk.
I don't know. I mean, I think tea and a cartoon puzzle sounds lovely to me, Dan. But
Josh, especially wearing a sports jacket, like a bullish sports jacket like that, you could pull that off.
Absolutely.
But not Musk.
No one doubts that. Let me ask you.
Wait a minute. Wearing a shirt like that, Dan, what does that tell us then about your consumption habits? I don't know.
That's not tea and cartoon puzzle. That's a whole different vibe. Let me ask you, Dan, did you think, though, in all seriousness, that this drama, does it overshadow in any way, Dan, some of the reasons I think you can argue you saw this move in the stock off those April lows, specifically Musk's return to Tesla and the robo-taxi event next week?
Yeah, Jack, look, if you think this is going to get worse and worse, and then Trump ultimately puts blockades in, the state doesn't go to federal, the autonomous roadmap doesn't happen, that's our whole view. That's how you're going to have cybercap 25 to 30 cities over the next year. Okay, then it's a negative view. But my view here is that this is basically a frenemy junior high school battle that's happening here. I don't view it as a long term. I still believe they're allies, and it doesn't change my view that the regulatory roadmap is going to be more green lighted for Tesla and the autonomous. It could also help Waymo and others. But that's where I think we're going. And that's sort of my view. I don't think that this is the beginning of a dark storm between Musk and Trump.
By the same token, it does seem like the EV tax credits are going to be in the tax bill. That is something, just if you talk in pure dollars and cents, is going to take away from the company's earnings this year, right? So, I mean, are you baking that in as the base case to your models at this point?
Yeah, and Julie, coming into the year, we thought that. I mean, I think they were, and my view is always, it will hurt Tesla, but hurt Tesla less than competitors. So ultimately, they do actually, to some extent, given their scale and scope, they could be profitable selling $35,000 cars. You can't say the same for those in Detroit in terms of big three. Now, do they want it? They don't. I mean, Musk doesn't want the 7,500 credit to go away. But I do also believe now that he's out of the White House, he has to play a game of politics here too, because there's a broader game going on. As he distances himself from Trump, that makes him more positive in Beijing. And China is very, very important to Tesla, raw materials, production, demand.
Well,
So there's a lot of sort of 4D, chess going on too.
I don't know. I'm always suspicious of the 4D chess comparison when it comes to people in Washington. But I do want to pick up on the China angle that you mentioned, Dan, because there was a report out of Reuters today that China had given sort of temporary licenses for rare earth mineral export to the main automakers, but not to Tesla. According to that report, it was Ford, GM, Stellantis that got it, but Tesla did not. Is that something that's going to disadvantage them?
Yeah, I think the devil's in the details. I do believe, given what we see with Tesla in Shanghai, given their production footprint, I think they'll have that same access. I'm not sure if it's from a timing perspective, but Tesla actually has an advantage when it comes to being, because they're so cemented in China. And I think when it comes to for Musk, look, this is like a road to recovery. I mean, post Doge, post a dark chapter, I think he's made great moves. Obviously, next week's a huge move in terms of autonomous and the Tesla, in Austin and that sort of ramp. But in terms of what we see with Musk and Trump, it's two kids in the sandbox, a little bad. But eventually, I think the play date's back on.
Dan, I want to switch gears, talk about another name you covered. That would be Apple. Their big software show starts on Monday. I believe you will be there, Dan.
Yep.
I think it's fair to say expectations tempered on this one, Dan, but what do you expect to hear as an analyst who remains, I know, firmly bullish on this name?
Yeah. And Josh, you've been in so many of those over the years. I mean, my view is low bar, but at the end of the day, the developers are the hearts and lungs of Apple and the Cupertino ecosystem. I think right now sentiment is way too negative on Apple. The consumer AI revolution, it's our view, like that goes through Cupertino. And I think as you look at this next iOS update, it all sort of sets up for what's going to be the big Apple intelligence in 2026, the early part. And I think this is going to be the upgrade cycle. It's late to the game, but with an install base of 2.4 billion iOS devices, 1.5 billion iPhones, you could be late, and that continues to be our view of Apple.
Dan, great to see you. Have a fantastic weekend.
You too.
I don't know. I'm going to go around and look at what people are wearing and make some, I don't know, maybe I'm going to make some theories now.
Make some quiet judgments.
Of course. It's a Friday. Why not?
Why not? All right. Thanks a lot, Dan.